I'd like to acknowledge that we meet on Aboriginal land, land that was taken by force, the ownership of which has never been ceded. And I'd like, on behalf of all of us, to acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, past, present and to come. And as always, I want to acknowledge the elders and leaders of the women's liberation movement. Yes. Women who struggled for so hard to win some very basic rights for all of us, which are now under threat and which we will not give up without a struggle. We will not. Thanks very much for everyone who's contributing to this weekend. This is the first of 3 events. We're going to have a great weekend. Whether you're speaking or performing this morning or this afternoon, or you're a feminist activist who'll be meeting and working tomorrow with your comrade sisters to review what we've done and plan what we'll keep doing, or whether you're providing a home for one of the out-of-towners who've come today, this weekend, or whether you're leading the chants in the march, or whether you're one of the people who volunteered to do a 1-minute video promoting this rally, and I know that for some of you that was a very difficult thing to do. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Australian women are angry. We're angry at the way the Liberal Prime Minister, a so-called leader, has dismissed and trivialised rape and sexual violence perpetrated by men against women, especially when an alleged perpetrator is the Attorney General of the country. Christian Porter, Scott Morrison, we don't believe you. No one believes you. Do you believe them? No. Can't hear you. Do you believe them? No. Thank you. We're angry also at the failure of the opposition to loudly and consistently support women who are the victims of rape and sexual violence. We're angry at the hypersexualisation and objectification of our girls, which sets them up as the victims of male violence. We're angry that no one ever mentions porn or the prostitution of women as factors in boys' and men's sexual violence against girls and women. And we're angry at the ongoing failure of our politicians and our courts and the police to deal properly with domestic violence. We're angry when gender identity ideologues attack women campaigning against female genital mutilation, as the ongoing and current abuse of anti-FGM campaigner Hebo Wardir shows. We're angry that women's and girls' sports are disappearing, that women in prison risk having to share accommodation with male sexual violence perpetrators who demand to be called women. These things occur because we're a subordinated sex class. Let's not pretend these things occur in a vacuum. They don't. They're all connected. They occur at a time when the rise of gender identity ideology and its support by governments, including the Queensland government, including the Australian government, has become the new orthodoxy and has minimised our response to men's violence against women. TERFs are the new witches. We're fair game. The very essence of totalitarianism is the criminalisation of thinking. Surely we've learned that from other totalitarian movements. So criminal behaviour like rape and domestic violence are downplayed, and thought crime, as evidenced, for example, by misgendering when we call a man he and he demands to be called she, becomes an unforgivable sin which women must atone for forever in the cult of gender ideology. It's time for left and progressive groups to show a bit of solidarity with women and girls whose safety, dignity, fairness and privacy are being eroded by gender identity ideology, because these groups have shown precious little solidarity to date. Instead, they tell us to ignore genderism, to pretend that gender identity ideology isn't happening, even as it erases us and renders us subhuman. They tell us it's not the right time to defend women's sex-based rights. Gender ideology has to be tackled if any other women's issue is to be tackled. We can't fight men's violence against women if we're not allowed to mention or define woman as adult human female. We can't tackle systemic gender pay inequities or women's poverty or women's homelessness if we're not allowed to mention women. Or if the new orthodox definition of woman, a woman is anyone who feels like it, is meaningless. And it is meaningless. It means nothing. Instead of telling feminist activists to abandon struggle, to go quiet, and we're being told this all the time, left groups need to join with us and defend our sex-based rights. And the first thing left groups in Brisbane can do is stop using the Electrical Trades Union, the ETU, as a venue for your functions. If the ETU put a ban on Aboriginal activists or refugee advocates, the left would be up in arms, and rightly so. But they've put a ban on feminist activists, and what does the left do? Nothing. As Audre Lorde said, your silence will not protect you. And as women today say, we will not be silenced.